Good morning. I am Christina Sorrento. I'm the Chief of the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division. And this is the DRC meeting for Kings Crossing. Your lead reviewer is Ugo Njezi, and he will go over any of the major issues or items we should discuss, and we'll turn it over to the applicant. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed. So Ugo, if you want to bring up the plan.
Morning, everybody. My name is Ugo Njezi. I'm the lead reviewer for Kings Crossing. This is a site plan. There already is a approved preliminary plan for this project. This property is being developed at the R200 optional meta development standard. There is a 20% imperviousness cap due to the 1989 Germantown master plan. There will be a Category 1 conservation easement along the rural open space. Between these two cul-de-sacs here, there will be a trail that will be developed at the Parks Department standard. This is just north of the Kings Crossing Park. The properties around it are zone PED. And there will also be reforestation and the removal of 4 trees. So I'm going to start with comments from right-of-way.
Well, if you want to highlight any of the major issues, and then we'll turn over if they have questions.
So one of the first major issues is that there's going to need to be improvements to this intersection here. You need to put in 4 directionals, and that is going to kind of run up against the 20% impervious to the surface cap. They're already at that limit right there by decimals. So improvements there means that other things will have to be taken away to accommodate for that. Also, Parks has agreed to take over this trail and maintain it, but it's going to have to be towards their standards. And also, we do need we just received the landscape plan. We haven't reviewed it yet. But after the review of that, we can address some of the tree planting details. We also want to work on some of these driveways and push the porches back, push the garage back so the porches are prominent, most prominent part of the homes. Those are our big initial, others are big ticket comments on this project.
Hey, Dean.
Okay, regarding the impervious area, if that impervious is, becomes part of the tract area, even though it's in the right of way, that still counts against the impervious cap, even though it's not part of our property, that we have to improve it?
That is true, yes.
Okay, I have a couple questions. One was for Marie. Her comment about the 50-foot vehicular access to the front door it's just for one house. So I guess, do we have to show where that comes in, Marie, or can you explain that a little bit more?
I'm not quite sure. So 50 feet to main side hinge door applies unless you choose to height restrict. If you choose to height restricted unit, you get up to 150 feet. I didn't see that you had identified the height restriction appropriately on the fire department access plan. So if you're willing to go that route, then I think that's going to resolve your issue.
Okay, I think the only house that's an issue is the existing house that exists now.
I'm sorry. Okay, I remember the comment now. So you need to show that your BRLs are all 15 feet, and then it's a non-issue because you don't have a shared driveway. So currently, the fire department access plan you submitted to me showed your side BRLs at like 5 feet. They were less than 15. So you have the space. If you increase those to 15-foot BRLs, then you've addressed the comment and it goes away.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And is there further definition because there's a comment about the pushing the garages back. Are you thinking of pushing them back 3 feet or making them plush or recessing them, or what is the logic behind? I know what the logic is, but what's more specifically being asked?
Is Mr. Duke on the line?
Sure. One of the things is that we don't want the garage to be the prominent feature of the facade, rather having a porch or another element, be the prominent feature of porch, covered stoop, the main facade of the building, of each house.
Okay, so it just needs to be addressed and
Yes.
then worked out.
Right.
Dean,
Yeah.
that comment also ties in to the comment from Sam Fahardy with EPS right of way. Sam, do you want to elaborate on that comment about the driveways?
Yeah, I mean, Dean, I'm sure you're aware of it. We would like to have a minimum of 20 feet from the edge of the right-of-way line, or in this case, PIE, to the garage. So we prevent cars overhanging the sidewalk. This subdivision seems like the driveways need to be extended, or perhaps the garage needs to be recessed a little bit to meet this comment.
Okay, so it's 20 feet from the sidewalk or 20 feet from the from the PIE?
Yeah.
PIE?
Yeah, we don't want cars to overhang the right of way or PIE and sidewalk following that. So
Okay, so all right, I got that. And as far as the we'll take care of that, and you don't want the driveway transition in the sidewalk. I understand that also. And if so, we can work on that. As far as the ramps at the intersection, there has to be a ramp in each direction. That's what I understand.
yes, I mean, if you look at the preliminary plan findings, Dean.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, it was brought up at that point and it was meant to be addressed. It would work a lot better for visually impaired to be able to find the receiving ramp on the other side of the intersection. And if you change one, you inadvertently impact all 4 corners. So all 4 corners need to be brought up to standard.
Okay, and one other question that I have in your comments, I guess it's change mark RRP-1. It's kind of a long comment about providing public sidewalk. In the last sentence, it says, however, it seems the intention is for it to be maintained by parks. If so, please replace PAE with the appropriate easement accordingly. What does PAE stand for?
PAE is what you currently have shown on the plan, Dean. Is called public access easement.
Oh, okay.
Public access easement essentially turns it over for maintenance to county. And if you want to meet county standards, or a lot more rigorous and strict, and in our preliminary discussion, park is willing to take over the maintenance. And accordingly, you need to change the easements that parks finds appropriate, and the cross sections and standards and everything needs to meet their standards as well.
Okay, and we're not proposing to do any changes to the swales other than putting the driveway culverts in. So we'll have to justify that going forward.
Yeah, I mean, and all swales, because it's open section roadways, swales need to meet our standards, freeboard, slope, velocity, and everything per our manual needs to be checked to make sure they're all compliant.
Okay, the next discussion, I know that we've been going back and forth with WSSC on, when we first submitted the plan for lot 28 in regard to WSSC, we had a sewer connection between lots 26 and 27 connecting to Autumn Gold Road. We got a comment at one point in time to, connect to Crossview Road. And more recently, the discussions between the applicant and WSSC has been, my understanding is that they would prefer not to extend the sewer in Crossview Road, and they would prefer to have the connection between lots 26 and 27 to avoid additional sewer to be maintained. I don't know where that's going, but if somebody can address that.
So this is Matt Snyder with WSSC. So we have no issues with the sewer being extended in Crossview Road. If the applicant wants to apply for a non-abutting connection and use the existing manhole, our concern is maintaining the pipeline design manual setback from the two lots on either side. I can't tell you what lots those are if it was coming from Autumn Road. So that would be an option, but but we need to make sure that the excavation for that sewer in the future for maintenance won't undermine the slabs of those two houses. So it can possibly come in between those two lots, but we also have no issues with the sewer line being extended north up Crossview Road to serve the house and the other lot.
I know that the two houses it can easily be 30 feet separated, to provide the 15-foot access, or, a little bit more if necessary, would it, to create the access between the lots?
Correct.
That
So
would be what your requirement is.
So the pipeline design manual requirements from the edge of the trench. So depending on how wide the trench is, then 15-foot setback from the edge of the trench. So it'd be a little bit more than 30 foot if you have a little bit more room. That would be what the pipeline design manual requires.
And that would not be an issue. So as long as it's not an issue for anybody else, because I guess it would be a private easement, dedicated to WSSC for maintenance.
So that would be a private maintenance. So it would be for lot 28's maintenance purposes. WSSC's connection will end at the right-of-way line.
I'm sorry. I stand corrected.
This is Rebecca from DOT. So we had that issue that was brought to our attention regarding WSSC and the water meters. And we haven't heard back from them. WSSC was supposed to provide some information last time we met, and we haven't made any further progress on that. So
this is Karen Carpio, Rebecca. I will talk with Ray Chica, our division manager, about it. And I will give you an update. It's not today, tomorrow.
Okay. I just wanted to bring it, and I want to bring it to Dean's attention so that.
No, absolutely. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So per the applicant's request, if we were to revise the plan to show the sewer connection between lots 26 and 27 to support the WSSC requirements, would there be any objection to that?
I don't think so. We'll have to look at it a little bit more. We can coordinate afterwards.
Okay. All right. I know the applicant's on the phone and they were very interested in hearing the discussion on this. So I just want to make sure it was brought up.
Well, they're more than welcome to join any conversation we have after the fact.
Sure. Okay. As far as the open space, I would imagine the open space exhibit would be a part of the landscape plan. And as far as benches and access and all that, I know it's the logic, would be to have benches along the park trail that, would work. How does that necessarily apply to the open space area in, I guess it's parcel D, because, we just have that kind of as an open area. and there's some plantings going on in there, but it was just open, and it was, since we're so tight with the impervious area, we were trying not to add additional impervious area for pathways or anything.
We can discuss that afterwards, but you're correct. I know it's more for along that trail.
Okay.
But we can discuss that more. I would like to see, though, on that plan potential where benches could be placed. And you can also count it, but proposed areas where it could be placed. But
Okay, we can talk about that later. And we need to do the if the park is going to take over the trail, from what I understand, they would take over the trail even across parcel E from one road to the other, and it would have to be built to their standards. That's my understanding.
Yeah, this is Henry Coble from Parks. So yes, Parks can take on maintenance of the paved trail as long as it's built to all of our standards, and as long as Scott alluded to before, with the proper easements for it, we're going to need a separate easement document directly to Parks for access and maintenance, and it'll need to cover all of the area of the trail that's not on parkland. So that's across the new proposed HOA parcel from this project, but it also crosses an existing HOA parcel on the plans to reach the cul-de-sac on Crossview. And for Parks to maintain that piece, we'd also need to have an easement providing access for the maintenance and use of the trail across there. And just FYI, we'll probably need the easement will probably have to be a little bit wider than the actual 11 feet of the path, which is just another slightly different bit to cover and show on there, just because if you got to do work on it, it's not just directly on the surface, but those are details we can figure out. We can provide some examples of the kind of easement language that we're thinking about.
And 11 foot is the minimum width, and I know there was some questions from the applicant and the community as to potentially putting bollards into 11 foot is they were worried that cars would be driving on it.
Yeah, I think we have standards for bollards, and we can certainly look at whether or not that seems to be appropriate here. If there's concerns, then it's probably reasonable to take a good look at including them.
And there was one last question about extending the sidewalk. It didn't really specifically say, but I was interpreting it that to extend the sidewalk at Crossview to the park, which I think we already have on the plan, park path. But was that referring to something completely different?
I had a comment about it, Dean, within Crossview. Is the cul-de-sac on the left, Crossview?
Yeah, that comment was made from our end. So we would like to see the sidewalk connected to the cul-de-sac. So that's why we made the extension. So the sidewalk could be connected to the existing property also.
Yeah, that's similar comment as well.
Yeah, so get to this thing.
So connect that sidewalk to the one we're proposing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. And there may have been a reason why that wasn't done before, but I'll look at that. We can talk about it later.
I have one more comment as well, Dean. The trail that you're extending on Parks property, when it connects to the street on the cul-de-sac, I'm not sure what's the name of it, is it cross country? On the right-hand side. Please show the sidewalk and show the connection is made to the sidewalk. Right.
Okay. All right, we can do that. I think I did have one question for Doug Johnson on the forest conservation plan.
I'm here, Dean.
I was, I understand the new code, but I was trying to understand how the two worksheets really came into play with this property, since we were doing all the forest conservation on site, because it says something about a worksheet for on site and off site.
Yeah, that was set up under the new law where the requirements are different. Well, I mean, if you notice offsite, generally the requirements will increase if you're going outside the watershed or outside of a priority area. Our attorneys want both sheets on the FCP. So they made that a requirement for us. So that's how it got shifted over to you.
Okay. All right.
Also, we're talking about all these pushing the homes back, lengthening the driveways, doing offsite improvements. I just want to reiterate that there is a 20% impervious cap on this property. So you may have to get a little creative not to go over that.
I understand.
And Doug, just before you walked in, the question came up on whether the off-site impervious areas counted against the imperviousness of the project.
Yes.
And the answer is yes. Yeah.
Any offsite work an applicant is required to do gets counted into the net tract area, the FCP, but also if it's impervious in an impervious capped area, then it's counted against the project as well.
Okay, we'll juggle and balance. I think that's all that I have.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you.
the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division. And this is the DRC meeting for 4310 Prince Road. Your lead reviewer is Mariah Claiborne. And the purpose of this meeting is for you to ask any questions you might have based upon the comments that you received. I'll ask Mariah to highlight any of the major issues that we should discuss and turn it over to the applicant. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Go ahead, Mariah, once you're able to pull up the plan.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mariah Claiborne, lead reviewer. So this property, of course, as Christina stated, is located on 4310 Prince Road for administrative subdivision plan. The owner proposes to take part 14 and part 15 of lot to create lot 17 that is equivalent to 41,360 square feet. They will be adding a single family residence to the site, but also keeping the existing pool also on the property as well. The main concerns for this site, as previously, the applicant did meet with staff before to go over, they had a concept plan for this proposal. And the major concerns definitely were to provide history of the past lot lines because things were just a little unclear. That still hasn't been provided yet. So that definitely is one of the major concerns, is to provide past history of the lot lines and the deeds for this property and for this location. I can go. Let me show the plan just so you can see. Zoom out a little bit. So of course, this is the house that's proposed. There's a driveway that is proposed as well. I do know that our design staff has comments for this as well, but I'll go ahead and kick it over to the applicant for any questions that you may have with the comments that were provided.
Peter, I assume you're going to take the lead on this?
You're muted. I got that. Thank you, Mariah. And thanks for the opportunity to present this plan to you all. Lance, can you turn it down? We went through the comments and we're comfortable with most of the comments. We do have a proposed change that we would like to present to you for your consideration and hopefully acceptance. But just some background on this, or not background, but some of the comments. There were quite a few comments which questioned the fire and rescue requirements for the driveway. We confirmed with Marie LeBeau that that's the driveway that's required in order for the fire department turnaround in this at this site, because to the right of the plan, maybe there's two more lots and there's a dead end without a turnaround that's acceptable to fire and rescue. So that's what's necessitated the driveway configuration. There were also a number of comments which talked about the current roadway profile, the meeting, what is it, the streets, Lance, what's the, I'm sorry, I'm missing the term, but so there is a little bit of a conflict that is either we meet the new profile for the current standards or we stay kind of consistent with the existing neighborhood, which has its own feel. We just want to do what's best for the neighborhood, I guess, but there's kind of a contradiction in that. the response to those comments will be generally trying to work between the two. Third issue that came up, the orientation of the driveway, the garage, and the home. I guess there's concern that we're locating the home where the stand of trees is, and we realize that, but that's really the logical place to place the new home on this lot. So we don't want to consider changing that. And the exact layout of the house might change at the time of building permits, but given that it is the owner's desire to maintain the swimming pool, to keep the swimming pool, then the house goes where, that would be the location for the house.
Well, it's also driven by the location of the well, right? The well is really what drives where the house needs to sit.
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, the well definitely has to be kind of centered on the lot, and it takes out the whole center of the lot for possible location of the house. And then this kind of comes also down to a request we'd like to make is the existing swimming pool, which we would like to keep, will protrude slightly. Part of it is within 78 feet of the new proposed lot line, front lot line, after the 12-foot dedication that's required. And we would like to request for it to be considered that instead of doing a dedication, we create an easement for in that same area for use. I don't know, would it be a transportation easement? But to do the same thing, that way we would maintain that lot line and we wouldn't have to alter the swimming pool. Otherwise, we would have to alter the swimming pool. Which
Rosie, can you come here? I want to see if I can put Band-Aids on your.
Those were our main items that we wanted to flag. We didn't have any, significant issues with any of the comments. The only one, that last comment came up when Maria's comment that, before we go to record plat, we would have to remove any structures that are contradict or conflict with the setbacks. So we have no problem with the existing shed that's in the front setback, but the swimming pool would also be in that. And we were, again, like I mentioned, we want to save that swimming pool in its current layout.
Okay, so we'll have to look at that during your resubmittal to review that.
Okay.
So our general policy is where dedication is possible to get dedication. Given the circumstances, we'll consider an option for a easement instead, but at this point, we can't say yes or no. We need to discuss it further.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's an existing swimming pool that has been in that neighborhood for decades. So again, we would like to save that if possible.
Understood.
So are you seeking a variance from that setback, or what are you requesting?
We're requesting that instead of providing dedication, that be made into an easement that would serve the same purposes, but being an easement, the setback would be to the existing property line, which is 12 feet, which gives us 12 feet for the setback. And the edge of the swimming pool right now that protrudes towards the street is at 78 feet from the proposed property line. It is 90 feet from the existing property line. And the whole neighborhood, has that existing property line. So,
Peter, can you address the neighbors? The neighbors do not have the dedication, is that correct?
Correct. The whole neighborhood, when the subdivision was made, all the streets there's a right of way of 50 feet for all the streets. However, as we're required to go to subdivision for this situation, typically we have to meet the current standards for a road, for the road cross section. And the one we're proposing, Maria, can you show the cross section that we're proposing? It's on the bottom right of the sheet. It's the 2001 Montgomery County DOT standard 2001.03, and it has a width of 74 feet. So 70, from the center line, it's 37 feet, and the existing right-of-way width from the center line is 25 feet. So that's where you get the extra 12 feet. We initially, the plan we're looking at, we're going to do dedication. We hadn't considered that pool setback that we want to keep. So that's why we were going to request, or we're going to resubmit the plan with all the comments addressed as best we can, but with this one change where we will request that dedication be made as an easement and not as outright dedication.
And the setback you're referring to is the 80-foot accessory structure setback?
Correct. That's how we interpreted the swimming pool.
So really, we're not talking about 12 feet, we're talking about 2 feet. So
correct, it's 2 feet. It's right now, I think 78.1 feet was the setback. 78. Yeah, it's right around 78 feet, plus or minus.
So are you asking us to, well, and DOT for that matter, to allow an easement for all 12 feet or just the 10 feet that would not affect the setbacks of the pool?
Either way works for us. I was thinking it would all be an easement just for simplicity to make it one thing, one item, but we would be open to considering breaking that up, to 10 feet as opposed to 12 feet, as long as we meet that setback requirement for the swimming pool.
So a couple of things. The cross section that you show is no longer valid. We don't do tertiary streets. It's based on complete streets. Complete streets does not discuss open section. So you'll have to create your own cross section and show us without the tertiary roadway. So from the edge of pavement is where you would use the cross section. And so we need to make sure that it fits within. So you're showing a right of way. This is what you're proposing is 50 feet of right of way. And so you're saying that dedication area, you're not dedicating anymore?
That's what we were requesting, that change in order for the swimming pool to meet the setback requirements. Because right now, if we did give the full 12 feet dedication, that kind of bump out part of the swimming pool would no longer meet that 80 feet setback requirement for accessory structures.
So why can't they just get a waiver for the setback because it's an existing thing that they have to dedicate?
I mean, we're trying to do the most straightforward approach.
Right,
to
I understand that, but we have to get.
Can DPS comment on that? Maybe if somebody's on the call from DPS, can they comment on that waiver option?
Well, I think this is a question that we should circle back on because I would like to explore the possibility of a variance. Because I hear everything staff's saying, Peter, is we very much want the dedication. I hear what you're saying. So let's like table this as a question we need to circle back with. So I think we need to coordinate with DPS, some zoning exploration as well to see what the best avenue is forward. So maybe we both get what we want.
Yeah, I mean, the idea for us is to address it right now in the administrative subdivision and when we do the record plat. So we don't have to go back after that's done and request a variance, which would be time consuming and costly for our client.
Well, I don't want to promise we won't do that, but if we can fold it into this approval and process somehow, let's circle back on this. So, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and then I guess I had a question on complete streets. So, yeah, that was a comment that came up about that cross section, the 2001.03, the DOT cross section.
Yeah, this is Billy Whalen.
Yep.
This is Billy Whalen. That was my comment. And I emailed you.
Yep.
That's an old standard, so we want that the reference to that standard removed, and then you'll have to fit that open section cross section with the dimensions with the sidewalk. It would be similar to what you show now, but with changing the sidewalk from 5 feet to 6 feet, it shrinks there's a 20-foot section between the pavement and the sidewalk. So you would have to adjust that so that the ditch still fits within that that space that's shown on the cross section. But we don't want any reference to the old standard cross section.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, earlier I was searching for complete streets. I had a senior moment, that term, but we looked through through the complete streets, the updated guidelines on it, and we didn't notice that there was a fixed cross section, which I guess you're saying, I'm hearing again on that. The one thing I heard, though, Billy, you just said you want 20 feet from the edge of pavement to the sidewalk.
No, the cross section that's shown, there's a 20-foot segment between the edge of pavement and the sidewalk, but bumping the sidewalk up to 6 feet then reduces that 20 feet to 19 feet. So you would have to adjust the dimensions within that 20 feet. If you go to the cross section, I can show where.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to create our own cross section, can we make it a 70-foot right of way that would satisfy the other kind of requirement or constraint we're dealing with, or does it still have to be a 74-foot right of way?
Anything reducing the right of way needs a written justification for why you're doing it, and then we need to approve it.
Okay. Yeah. So my only thought on that is the right-of-way width of 74 foot is based on that DOT standard, which no longer.
No, but see, we have complete streets. So complete streets is really, unfortunately, it doesn't really address open section roadways. So the right-of-way, the pavement section and the stuff between curbs is fine. And then you use the old tertiary standards or use some kind of standard. Was this a tertiary roadway before?
It is secondary residential.
It's a secondary roadway standard. So you're going to use secondary roadway open section, and you're going to use from the edge of pavement, and you can use those. That's your starting point for the behind the curb part. And then any reduction from that, you will need to get a waiver from DOT.
Can I ask, again, one of the things I mentioned kind of in my opening remarks is if you were to go to Google Street View and you see just the streets in that whole subdivision, they're all consistent, it's 20 foot of asphalt. There are no sidewalks. Doesn't mean we won't put in a sidewalk. But can we try our best to match what's out there, or is that?
We just want to
contradiction
see,
between
show us
streets?
what's existing, and
Mhm.
then show us how show us the proposed cross-section and try to put in, and any reduction you have, provide a written justification to DOT and we'll review it and consider it. So we will consider a reduced right away if possible, but we want to see everything before we make a decision.
Okay. Okay, we'll try to get some of that to you hopefully later on this week.
Yeah, then we need to talk to DPS, I guess, about their setback.
And Rebecca, I'm just trying to make sure not to throw a wrench in here. You're talking about the cross sections and how they work, like the right of way width being the planning board's decision. I'm making sure that.
Yeah, no. So we do cross sections. We do whatever right away you give us, and then we try to fit the cross section in. I mean, the swale has to be in the right of way.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just small clarification, just making sure we're saying the same thing.
So if we do a right-of-way or not a right-of-way, but a profile that generally meets the existing profile along the whole street and fit in a 6-foot sidewalk in that, is that kind of?
We have a lot of developments that come in that are infill developments, and we at a minimum request the right-of-way. So while we might not have the sidewalk, we actually get the right-of-way in case in the future, because we do see a lot of redevelopment in areas. I'm not sure exactly where this is, but we see a lot of redevelopment. And so we want to make sure that we don't prohibit getting right away. We can't take an easement if there's no facility in there. And when we get dedication, we can take the dedication. We can't take an easement that has no sidewalk in it. So we will consider, you send us something, send us your proposal and your written justification why. There is code language for reduction of road right away, but I'm not sure that a pool counts as that. So I'm not sure exactly how that fits in. But in the code chapter, 50, there is a reduced right away discussion in there.
Okay. Can I get in contact with you later just to go over some of these things?
Yeah.
You can
Billy
contact
Rollinger,
me.
DOT reviewer.
Okay, so Billy and Rebecca.
Yeah, we've already had email communication, so my all my contact info is on that.
Yeah. Any questions Billy has, he can ask me.
Hey, Billy, since this is a subdivision issue, this chapter 50, can you include Mariah on those correspondence? Because it's also as far as our
The right of way is, yes, the right of way
Sure.
is a chapter 50, but DOT does have, it's us working with you guys. So it says DOT and planning will work together to come up with a recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay. Lance, anything else? And Jeff, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Yeah. There was one other. There were, some comments that were. I think Maria had a comment on, consider adding a front porch to the on the house, and my response to that is that'll be considered at the time of building permits, if that's okay. And yeah. Other than that, I think, like I said, most of the comments we have responses for that I think should be acceptable.
Okay. Yeah, so that comment that was made by our design staff. Or if you want to say anything, if not, but that definitely is an allowed accessory structure for the home. So that would be perfect if you can do that to fit the design elements for the home.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Peter, hi, this is Sandra Pereira, regulatory supervisor. Just wanted to quickly follow up on your initial comments about the location of the house and the garage. Our comment, the intent was to really move the driveway to where swap the house with the garage so that the driveway is away from those existing large canopy trees so that they could be saved. Can you elaborate a little bit more why the house can't be swapped with the garage?
So, okay, you're talking about the large canopy just for the garage, where the driveway is coming in.
Right.
So I think it was the offsets from the well location, right? There's 100-foot offset that's shown, but there's other offsets. Is it 30 feet to the house? So, yeah.
That's correct.
Pull that up. So
Yeah.
where the primary well location is, just to the left of, it says existing shed to be removed, right in the center of lot, pretty much. Just to the left of that is that's the proposed well location, which is close to where an existing well is right now, but not too close. From that, we draw a 30-foot radius, and so it kind of clips the back of the garage. But it would, if we put the house there, it wouldn't clip it. It would force the house to be kind of a different shape, I guess, to stay away from it. So
Gotcha.
that would be, would be.
And the location of the well, is that, I'm assuming existing? Is that an existing well? Or is this a new well?
It's a new well. And typically, because these are 1-acre lots and you want to stay as much as possible within the property itself. So based on just the geometry of that, the well locations have to be generally in the center of the lot. There's one radius that goes into Prince Road, which is okay because it's not someone else's property. So it won't have septic in it that would interfere in it with the location in the future. But that's kind of what limits us towards the center of the property for the well locations. So there's 3 possible locations. They're all coming right down the middle.
Okay. I heard somebody else calling my name. Was that Heidi?
Yeah. Hi, Sandra. This is Heidi.
Hi.
So the 100-foot well arcs cannot overlap the property boundaries except into the road by more than 5 feet. So that's why the wells are kind of centered in the property that way.
Gotcha.
And then they are all new well sites. One will be the one that they will drill. The other 2 are the replacement. They need to be 30 feet from the house. And then each well site needs to be separated from one another by 50 feet. So where the wells are proposed now, given the size of the lot and the 5-foot overlap requirement, they really cannot shift without impacting one of the setbacks.
Gotcha. Okay, no, that's helpful. I was seeing some arcs on the drawing, but maybe the wrong arcs because those were going through the proposed house, and that's why I wasn't following at first.
Oh yeah, those are the arcs you see are the 100-foot arcs, which just represent 100 feet to any septic, which each of the properties, the properties on each side, each still have a septic system.
Gotcha. Okay, no, I appreciate the explanation. That helps to understand. So sounds like the house has to be where it's shown and it cannot move closer to the center of the property. I think that's what I'm hearing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, we have to
Okay,
wrap
thank
up.
you.
So is there any last minute thing? Because we have to, we're at the end of our time here.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks. We're fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
This is your DRC meeting for 11030 River Road. The purpose of this meeting is for you to ask any questions you have based upon the comments you received. Your lead reviewer is Mariah Claiborne, and this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. So I'll ask Mariah to kind of highlight any of the major items we should discuss and then turn it over to you for your questions.
Morning. Okay. So currently, we're looking at first, thank you, Christina, at 11030 River Road. This is our R2 zone. And currently you are, well, the owner of lot 1 is proposing to purchase 0.7 acres of the parcel next with the neighboring parcel to create a 2-acre lot in the rear of their lot. So altogether, the proposed acreage that's being proposed is 2 acres. And of course, the main concerns currently right now will be transportation. That there is a section in the master plan that that shows along the S curve. Let me pull it up, please. Currently, right here along River Road, there is proposed from the State Highway Administration. There is a proposed dedication along the frontage of the property currently. And I know transportation could touch more on that if you have any questions for that. But then also at the rear of the property, shown on your plan, there is a runoff area, but also within our system, there is a blue line stream that goes towards the back. So that's a major environmental issue that we have right now, that in order to determine if that is an actual stream instead, or if it's just showing up in our system as just a blue line stream. So I'll leave it to you if you have any questions.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. Patrick Sweeney with Land Tech, to my lady, the property owner, and Rose Sweeney also with Land Tech. Thank you for having us here. Appreciate you making time for our questions and for all the effort that went into the review of the plan. So we appreciate that. Basically, the concept as you've outlined is exactly what the owner would like to do, which is to purchase 0.7 acres, combine it with approximately 1.3 acres of her existing property to create a new lot of 2 acres for future build. And the goal was of this review or of this conceptual plan was to just get a kind of a feasibility idea of, is this even feasible? So I think the comments we got, what we flushed out are right on with what we were trying to get out. So now the question is of those comments, which are the ones that we really kind of, to decide whether or not it's feasible, do we really need to focus on? I think the 3 you probably hit on are the exact same ones I flagged. So from an environmental standpoint, looks like we would need the NRI FSD, the Forest Conservation Plan. That would be pretty much a hard requirement to get to that next stage. So I've kind of noted that. So the stream in the southwest corner that you've noted, it really doesn't go anywhere other than it looks to us like it's some sort of like a runoff, more of a runoff than an actual stream. But I would imagine that's something that we would be able to flush out in that conservation review. And that would be one way or another, because the buffer requirements from, if it is a stream, would be probably hard to overcome and to make the plan feasible from what we could see. Because I think I saw a comment of 200 to 300 foot buffer on either side, right?
Yes, and for environmental, I could let Doug touch on that.
Okay.
And Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Yeah, you're going to want to get the NRIFSD into us because we use that document to make the actual determination if that is or is not a stream. Okay. Like I said in my comments, if that is a stream, that's going to preclude the access off of Riverwood as you're currently showing it.
Yeah.
And will also preclude the location of the house on that proposed lot where it's being shown, because the Stream Valley buffer will take out most of that.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of was our read as well. We get 300 feet would pretty much negate the ability to situate the improvement as we have shown it.
So we put buffers on intermittent streams and perennial streams in this part of the county.
Okay.
So intermittent stream only has to flow once a year. And we have certain criteria that we use when we go out there. determine that.
So, and again, that would be something we would come out of the plan that we would present on the NRI. Right, yep, okay. All right, let's see, I think there was, that's it, and then, yeah, I think the next set of questions that we wanted to probably talk about were the, health/well and septic. Seemed to be a question about abandonment of a well on the property. It does look like it was a well being used. So I don't know if you've got any information on that. We did note it in our survey, but it's no longer being used. So we would need an abandonment, is my understanding of that abandonment report in order to proceed. Is that correct?
Yeah, as well as septic, on the call to touch on that question.
Okay, on DPS.
Anyone from DPS on the call?
If Heidi's not on, we'll have to follow up with her on that one.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and then the only other comment there that would be, well, septic related was, yeah, there was a question on whether or not it was connected to public sewer. And so, at this stage, we took from WSSC that it's W1S1, which my understanding is public water and public sewer, but I guess we could verify that if needed.
Yes, I believe they were on the call earlier. Is WSSC still on the call? If not,
She is.
okay.
Yes. Yes, I am here.
Can you say that, repeat the question for?
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so there was a question about whether or not we're on public water, public sewer, which our understanding is we are. The property is tagged as W1S1, which
Yes.
our understanding would mean that it's both public water and public sewer.
Yeah, but yeah, you can have water, and I have seen the only thing is you will add that lot behind to the property, to the lot one, no? Like the property in lot one, we no change at all.
Correct.
That is
will not-
correct?
That's
Yeah,
correct,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So if you want to connect the lot behind lot one, you will need to have if you are buying this property, yeah, you can have connection for sewer, no problem, and water.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
and that
you
was
have
our
both.
read. Okay, good. And then I think there was a question about whether or not there was an abandoned former septic field somewhere on the property as well. So we didn't see any evidence of that on the plat or in our, in our field survey, but I something that could be investigated further through county records if needed. So we could certainly do that. And I think that's it on the open septic. Which one? Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yeah. I think the next one is the transportation. Yeah. So transportation, I know you talked about it briefly, the realignment of River Road. So that was kind of beyond the scope of what we were looking at. So that's something, how do we find out more about that? What would be required there?
Justin, can you touch on the
Yeah,
HOA?
so the road realignment needs to be done, but per our requirement for the master plan requires a road realignment. We will need to get into conversations with the state highway administration to actually dive more into this matter.
And I know that we, so as staff, like we have been in contact with them. So we're just waiting to hear back. And also too with legal, just for the actual dedication to see if it could still be implemented or accepted within your acreage. But then also to just hearing back from HSA to see if they're going to do the realignment. So we could follow up with that.
Right. And so from our standpoint, how would we interact with that? I mean, what would that seems like that would fall out of maybe the subdivision process?
I feel if that is the case, if they do decide to do the realignment, it would create the lot sizes will be definitely much smaller than the 2 acres proposed.
Right.
So it kind of wouldn't be feasible to do the proposed lot 3.
So that's important. So that could be a potential showstopper in terms of, from a feasibility standpoint. So I guess that's something we definitely want to take the next steps. That would obviously be one we'd want to try and get a response on or get a direction on.
Yes. Yep. Yes.
Yes, just to add, this is Sandra Pereira, Regulatory Supervisor with Up County team. Just want to add that we have reached out to SHA in preparation for this meeting, and we are actively trying to get a hold of them to get to the bottom of this. In addition, this master plan recommendation to realign River Road has been around for a long, long time. It doesn't necessarily mean that we would 100% support or follow this recommendation, given where we are nowadays with our policies and Thrive. So in order to deviate from that master plan recommendation, we obviously want to coordinate with SHA, but I think there might be some opportunities to do that.
And would the realignment be resulting from this project, or would it just be it's something that's planned to occur anyways?
Right, the realignment is beyond these 2 properties. As you'll note, the adjacent properties to the left and to the right of this one, some of them have already dedicated, so it's or at least they show a bigger, wider dedication in front of their property lines. So this is, it seems like this is ongoing, and so that's why we need to get sort of a bigger picture sense of what's happening here and what is SHA's intent for the realignment of River Road. If it's still a plan, if it's still something they want to pursue, or if something that they were thinking about in the past and they no longer want to do it.
Because I know one of the comments was likely this would require 1 to 3 acres, and I'm guessing that would be on multiple properties. So what our share of that would be determined, I guess. Okay, and then I know there's some other comments here about sidewalks and bike paths and other things that might be considered, I guess, impact related, including on the side road there, which I think is the Riverwood Drive.
So I could, for the sidewalks and dedication, I could defer that to transportation to touch on that.
You want to know specifically about Riverwood?
Yeah, well, Riverwood in general, and also just, I think for both River Road and Riverwood, there's talked about additional easement areas. And one public utility easement was mentioned in the report. And I think also there are bike paths and buffer areas and so forth.
Yeah, I think that was probably the recommendation, but is there, do you want him to state what the?
Well, would that be a requirement falling out of this plan? In other words, that's something that would be required by the owner to then implement or have impact fees to implement? Or how does that get handled?
Yeah, so was there a bike path that was recommended along
River Road? We made several comments. I know that the bike wall shoulders can be waived through a fee. For Riverwood specifically, I know that's a private road. Our code defers private road to the complete street guidelines. So we will need you to address road improvements in any way in that road specifically.
I found on which side? Riverwood side or Riverwood?
It's actually both is in the report. There's talk of both, yeah.
But the by road is across the street already. It's already on the River Road.
Sorry?
There is another by road on the across the street, yeah.
But on the other
on the River Road, yes.
Yeah, but since you're doing.
Do you need on both sides?
The frontage of that, on the frontage of the land, you will need to do the improvements.
So are we saying is it the bike master plan that we're referring to?
I think that I understood that she's saying that on the other side,
Yes,
There's a bike.
it's already
there's a-
there.
Yeah, there's a road. There's a bike lane, sorry, right? Saying on our side, the front, they need to build it on the frontage.
Right.
They need to address.
Doesn't
it.
matter that
Build
there's
it
one on the
frontage.
other side, they still won't want on that
Yeah.
side too. Yeah. Okay, got it. All right, I think those were the three main areas that really kind of had I mean, there's a lot of other comments that, would obviously be addressed in part of the development plan, but I think as far as, things that were major impact, go, no go, those are probably the key ones. We did get some fire safety ones. Did you have a question on those? Lynn, those look like kind of check the box for me in terms of, yeah, it's stuff we'd have to do, but fire department access and water supply, show all the building restriction lines on the lot, city map, compliant water supply within 400 feet, locate that, and then locate compliant apparatus, turnaround of roads are not through yet. So those are the laws comments what we got. So I don't think there's really any question. I think those are fairly, just stuff we need to do. Yeah, understood. Okay, I don't know if we've got any other questions. We're probably close on our time anyways. I think those were the big items. Yeah. Do you have any questions, Sue? No?
They have, yeah, wait for the state highway, right?
Yeah, state highway would be a big one. So yeah, next steps on the state highway, is that something we need to do? Is that something that would be done on this process?
So as stated, we're actively trying to get in touch with them. So definitely I would say, and if I'm correct, Doug, if you moving forward, it would be very great to go ahead and get started for the NRI process to see if that actual stream is there.
Right.
And what requirements would be for environmental use for the back of that property or for that proposed lot.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's probably the appropriate next step.
So
Okay.
when can I submit the administrative?
Well, these are some items. Yeah, so Sue Lynn's asking when could she or we submit the administrative subdivision plan? And I think it's after we clear these hurdles in terms of, but I'll let you answer that question.
Yes, and also too, the approved NRI would have to be submitted along with the administrative subdivision plan. So that would be the first thing to get that approval.
That sounds like the next step. Yep. Okay, good. Very helpful. Yes, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time. Any questions for us on anything?
Does anybody on the call have any questions or any comments that they would want to make before we close out?
I'm just going to say one thing. So there was a lot of information there, a lot of comments, but I think the two big picture items are one, what is the environmental setting in the southern end of this lot? And then two, we'll have to have a conversation with SHA and ourselves internally to make sure, is that dedication in front? Is that still an active project that we're pursuing to straighten that road, et cetera? So those are really the two most important items.
Right, yeah, and I saw along with the environmental conservation and the conservation plan, right? That was mentioned forest, that there might be a forest conservation area there. Like that need to be contiguous. So,
Well, the master plan for this area is calling out retention of forest.
Right.
But the forest conservation plan itself will follow on the heels of the NRI FSD. So you need the NRI first, even to make the subdivision application, but then the FCP will come, forest conservation plan will come in with that application after the NRI is approved.
Got it. Okay, good. All right, very good. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate the comments and your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe one suggestion. Yeah.
the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division, and this is your DRC meeting for Shady Grove Station West Side. Your lead reviewer is Erin Fowler. The purpose of this meeting is really for you to ask any questions based upon the comments you received last week. And I will ask Erin to highlight any of the major issues that we should discuss, and then she'll turn it over to you. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Go ahead, Erin.
Thanks, Christina. Morning, everyone. I'm Erin. I'm the lead reviewer, as she mentioned. So this amendment is primarily focused on multifamily building B on the southwest corner of the Shady Grove Station site, where the applicant is planning to build out the last 413 units for this portion of the development. And so just high level changes to summarize for the group. They're updating the architectural renderings and building footprint, including an increase in height by about 18 feet, but still within the previously approved maximum height for the project. They are shifting the unit mix to incorporate additional MPDUs, but still maintaining the same total. Updating the landscape, stormwater management, and utility connections. Shifting the library location, which was previously right over here to this intersection of Baxter and Columbus, and adjusting a couple of the HOA property lines and block B. So 3 pieces that planning just wanted to flag before we turn it over to you to ask your questions about our comments are the loading dock that we noted was moved from back here where the parking garage is up toward closer to the townhomes up here closer to Columbus. So that was one piece we maybe wanted to talk through and understand a little bit more about. And then also the potential for offsite landscaping improvements beyond the property line here, closer to Metro Access Road, because we saw that the LOD extended pretty far out and just wanted to discuss the potential for more open space for the residents. And then finally, the storm drain easement, which I believe the applicant has been in touch with the right-of-way at DPS about recording that easement. And if the applicant has any more information about timing on that and whether you're planning to record it on the plat or just go through the deed, we'd just love to talk through that a little bit more. So those are our kind of main points. And now I can turn it to you for any questions.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. This is Phil Hummel from Miles and Stockbridge, Land Use Council for applicant EYA. Sorry, I could be there in person. I was intending to, but the weather this morning threw off daycare plans, so I'm still catching up. But you do have there in person Karen Garfield from EYA, James Buckheister from VICA, and we believe representative from KTGY in the room there. So Erin, thanks for the introductions and thanks for the comments. We did as a team meet, and we do have a few questions and comments for clarification. So the first comment that we wanted to address or just let you know about is the comment about receiving an updated letter from the county libraries reflecting the shifting in location. We did reach out to the libraries on that and believe there's support for it. And I know Karen's been in contact with DGS, and I don't know if Karen wanted to provide any further information on that, but we have reached out on that.
So we
request.
did speak to DGS, Ronnie Warner, yesterday. Libraries won't necessarily issue a letter, but we do have our agreement, Exhibit L, which we can provide, Exhibit L to our sales agreement with the county that outlines all the provisions for the library. So we can submit that.
So hopefully that will satisfy that comment because there is an existing agreement. The next comment was on showing breakdown on units and parking for just multifamily B. We think that is not consistent with how the existing plans have been handled in the past. I think if we can show, maybe James, if you want to pull up the development tabs that we have on the plans now, but it's always been kind of done on a plan-wide basis. And that's how we propose to update it for consistency. I don't know, James, if you want to provide more detail on that.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. I can't pull it up, but it's on the SP3. As Phil said, historically, we've just sort of combined all of the development programs for the parking tabs. And just to maintain consistency with this last, hopefully this last amendment on the west side, whether we want to change it up at this point or not. But, if we're not going to, I don't think we're going to die on that hill, but, but just trying to maybe dial back the intensity of the breakout.
I think that makes sense. We were just looking to see what, it would just be a little bit easier for us to calculate the minimum and maximums for the building, but I think we can go off of the plan.
We have the information. We can provide it as a supplemental document.
That was the thought. I don't think we were necessarily looking for you to change the whole table to break out we just wanted to see the details for this particular part of the scope of this multifamily, so we can understand how it meets the code.
Got it. Yeah, we can definitely do that. I know there were a few comments from Marie Labaugh from Fire Rescue. We're working on those with her office. There was a question from DPS zoning on building height measurement. And James can provide more detail, but my understanding is, this plan was approved under the previous version of the code. And the building height methodology is from the previous version of the code. And we just propose to carry that methodology forward because that's how it's being used for this building. James, do you want to provide any more details on that?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. And, I think we'll be okay either way, but again, consistency with the prior code is how we calculated it using the top curve elevation.
Is Melissa on? I think.
Yeah, good morning. This is Melissa Guto, zoning reviewer. So I took a look at that with Aaron as well, and I just recommend that you highlight that code section in your SOJ to make it clear. And you can also say it matched the prior amendments for the site plan.
Okay, is it sufficient just to respond to the comment using the reference to the old code, or do you want it also referenced in the SOJ?
Yeah, I prefer that it's in the SOJ for clarity if possible.
Okay, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. And then comment from environmental. There was a comment on the building footprint in consistency with what's shown on the FCP. I'll turn over that to James too.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. So we have just, again, historically on this project, not done forest conservation plan amendments when we've come in for the other multifamily buildings. And it wasn't on the checklist, so I don't know if it was a late add, but we're just trying to see if it's a necessary item at this point.
It is, because the forest conservation plan hasn't been updated since the E amendment. So things don't match anymore. So any inspector coming in can't see what he's supposed to be looking at.
Okay.
So it does need to be updated.
And then there was a comment on a noise study. I believe one has been prepared. We just didn't submit it with the application. Is that right, James?
That's correct. That's yes. What we
So we can submit that with the resubmission. Let's see. And then a couple comments from DHCA. Just to clarify, we're not proposing to change any unit types with this amendment. So it's possible that the comments are referring to a previous amendment where we were swapping multifamily with townhouses, but the unit type is staying the same with this amendment. So we just wanted to get some clarity on those two comments from DHCA.
Okay, yeah, as long as the unit types are staying the same with this amendment, that's all right. I think I had seen something in there that referenced them possibly changing. But as long as they are staying with what was previously approved, then we can stay with that.
Great. Yeah, we'll clarify that Yeah, the unit type's not changing. We're just increasing the amount of affordable units. Let's see. I think that's all I have. I'll turn it over to the folks in person if they have any other questions for folks.
So, Phil, just to clarify on that MPDU or the DACA comment, we are changing the unit mix as well as adding additional affordable units. Is that?
Well, we're changing the mix, but we're not changing the unit type. So it's just all multifamily. I think the comments went to whether we were changing between unit types, like between apartments and townhouses. But we're not. It's all going to stay the same. It's just the mix within the previously approved number of units.
Yeah, I think this plan was originally submitted before the 2018 regulation change that required the single family mix and the multifamily mix of MPDUs to reflect the market rate single family and multifamily mix. So I think if that's the case and like the number and location and all of that, the MPDUs aren't changing, then that would be okay. I'd have to go back and double check. I can send you an email after to confirm, but that might be the only issue that comes up is the mix of the single family, aka the townhouse, and the multifamily may have to reflect the same mix as the market rate units.
Okay, well, I'll be happy to see what you send in an email. I will know, this plan goes back to 2012, I think. So
Right. Yep, I will double check on that and just confirm.
Okay, great. Anything else from the team? Any more questions?
I would just go back to the first three things that were brought up. One was the loading dock location.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
I think it really was a function of diving into how the building laid out and worked with getting to the right unit count and really starting to work with the staff on, the design and planning and just the best layout for the building. And what we've done with that loading dock is, set it back a little bit. So it's, you have the sight line where the library corner is proud of the loading dock location. And it's actually a very identical condition to what we have across the street at the Laureate. And so we've treated it kind of the same way here. And it's really a function of just evolving the design and how it works with loading for not only the residents, but also for the library and that space as well.
Right. And I think it's just to piggyback on that, what the previous location, there was a paved road that went on the plan east side that went all the way back to the rear of the building. And now that's being, replaced with landscaping. So that explains the movement from that side to the other side, because now that road doesn't go all the way back. It's going to be landscaping.
And that's a good segue into the other comment about increasing the green kind of between our building, up to our property line. We are creating a really nice kind of linear park green, heavily landscaped area. Anything that goes kind of onto the WMATA property, we're not, that's just outside of property we control. So we won't be touching that, but I think what we'll be creating and, I think really the lush trees and whatnot. We can talk about what those trees want to be and where they want to be.
On a similar note with the loading dock piece, we noticed that there's a new trash room over on the corner, and I think there was a comment left about just we didn't see a loading access over there. Is that?
Yeah, and we only have trash access for like trucks that's adjacent to the loading, so the management would move the trash from that kind of remote location. The reason it is over there is because there's a lower level we wanted service for those units over there also, and then it is a chute that works all the way up and down the building, but the trash trucks are not going to drive to that side again because there's no road on that side anymore.
Annually, the trash will be
Yeah.
moved to the
It'll
garage.
be staged to the garage side next to the loading, yep, for pickup.
Thank you for clarifying it. We are confused why there's two trash.
Yeah. Question?
I guess back to the landscaping to the property line, what's the transition between the landscaping and the WMATA side of that before you get to curb? Because it's, you know, the WMATA side is not basically maintained, it's like downhill.
Right, right. So the park as it's designed right now meets up to the grades at the property line. So, you know, it's a little hard to see here, but there's areas where we do sort of boulder retaining walls in order to meet the grade that's there. Yeah, so basically we're working within the constraints that we have right at the property line in order to marry the two together. But I guess to your point, to the right-hand side, it would be, I think it's a more wild landscape because that's what's there.
Is there, I guess, any opportunity for any additional pedestrian connections to that side? Versus, you have pretty good amount of connection taking you down to the edge of the building or the lower level of the building. But for anybody that wants to kind of maybe go to the metro station, they would just be creating go paths down that side, unless there's like some, retaining wall or some other physical barrier that would constrain them. But is there any? Because we know you have the LOD, so it's not a situation of not having access to do improvements. It's more about, I guess, is there a potential to, provide some more connection or provide more areas of transition between those two drastic different spaces?
And I mean, to this point, the sort of direction we've been going is to design, up to the property line without going across it. So, I mean, it's certainly something we could explore. I don't have an exact answer. I do know that there's grade considerations that we would have to look into if we were to go that route.
I think that's where the comment came from. Just more of throwing the question out there, not necessarily looking for, just pursue the option, since we've realized that it seemed like a potential, and knowing that this whole property or east side or west side Shady Grove has just been struggling on open space because, the other side hadn't developed into the potential that it was supposed to. So this project, in other phases of, we've been looking for opportunities to kind of create more open spaces for the residents throughout this whole entire project. So the more we can get, as it builds out, we were just looking for opportunity. We saw this as an opportunity as well. So to the extent we can kind of, not to say you can do the same level of landscaping on the WMATA side, because there's the level of maintenance and things that would have to agree, but it'd be nice to have something, in an area where it looks like you have a nice linear open space, and add, especially if you're putting that storm drain easement, it can kind of, it looked like an opportunity that we would like to pursue a little bit more, have more discussions on as we go through the amendment process.
And there is a robust kind of pedestrian crossing across the Metro Access Road at the intersection of Columbus where we put in the new signal. And then there is on that side a sidewalk, but on the building B side, there isn't a sidewalk. So.
Is it worth mentioning that on that lower level, that they don't have direct access out? There is a secondary lobby on the lower level, but I think there's probably 6 units down there, Ben. Yeah, something like that. So, not to say that people on the main level won't go down, but they have to go all the way to that side of the building, then down and then out. So,
It could be something that could be explored. That
Sure.
would be great. Is there anything on the storm drain easement piece? I know you all spoke with Sam, I believe, at Right of Way. Is there, do you know anything about the timing for the plan for maintenance on recording that easement?
I don't. I think that we have the easement document prepared. It hasn't been recorded to date since because of the ownership of parcel B. So I think it's ready to go. But I don't know the timing.
Yeah, we have to review, James.
Sure.
This will not be a straightforward easement.
Yeah.
Because of the improvements within that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to run it right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That it for that, you're saying? Okay.
Any questions?
Oh, just one more thing, real quick. We did confirm that the preliminary plan is still valid, so we can make those lot line adjustments.
Great, thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you for your comments. Very helpful.
Thank you.